for letting us use their loft again. And you know, it's a new loft for those of you who've been here, so it's under construction. That's why it's part and everything. And today, Dr. Sobey plans to discuss the Einstein affair, or the relationship that Reich had with Einstein, and open it to questions. And then after a break, we're going to have an opportunity to discuss some of the Reich blood tests, looking at blood under the microscope. Dr. Sobey has a unique position in that he continued to do the work after Dr. Reich's death until the late 60s or early 70s.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of laboratory work. So it's a chance to ask questions or get a sense of it from someone who has on-hand experience. And this, if you haven't put your name on the mailing list, please do. This will be a continuing series. We'll start again in the spring, and I'll get the mailings out to you. And for those of you who haven't paid, just contact me during the break. Okay, Dr. Sobey.
Okay. As Dr. Lewis said, Einstein affair, and I want to introduce it with what's happening at the present day. In the field of present-day astrophysics, as everybody's been reading about with the Hubble telescope, looking for where all the mass in space is, the biggest enigma is where 90% of the mass is in the universe. They thought they'd be able to somehow with the Hubble telescope, you all know about the Hubble telescope, would somehow or other detect all or some of it. With the sending of the Hubble telescope into the sky, it was thought and hoped that some or all of the missing mass could be located. However, as revealed in the New York Times of 11/29/94, none of this mass could be found or be accounted for. Space physicists say it was there, but cannot be detected or seen up to this point in the Hubble telescope. I mentioned this news report to report on the Einstein affair, which began between Einstein and Wilhelm Reich. At that time, Albert Einstein stated that most of the space was empty. However, with the discovery of orgone energy, proved that space was filled with OR and could be accountable for the so-called empty space. What was known then, and they still can account for, the planets and the suns, the moons, and asteroids, and so forth. At that particular time, and it continued while Dr. Reich was in, when he tried to combine Marx's teaching with psychoanalysis, and he claimed that they could exist side by side, and Dr. Reich actually did go to Russia for a few years, and he soon became quite disillusioned because the whole society, while it claimed to be sex positive, was quite sex negative, and also they could not accept any part of psychoanalytical theories. And I remember at one time, and of course he was attacked in Vienna, and Freud just sort of was indifferent to it, didn't attack him on it, but many of his colleagues. But the communists, or as Dr. Reich called the red fascists, because I mentioned in the last lecture that, not the last lecture, but the last time I met with him before he went to jail, he said to me, you know, there's such a thing as a good communist. But he said, there are none around. He said, they're all red fascists, and I want you to know that I'm still a Marxist. Well, of course, in the College of Ergonomy, Dr. Chavis, I think they're aware of I made that statement. It came to them somehow, and they thought it was all ridiculous. Now, either I was daydreaming when he told me that, and I know what he meant, you know, the positive aspects of Marxism. But they said, no, he was always against red fascism, communism. Okay, so, and Dr. Reich said, if you're talking to somebody and you don't know whether they're a red fascist or not, just mention orgone and Wilhelm Reich, and they'll really go up in anger. Okay, now here the Einstein affair, which is, I don't know how many people know about it, or read about it, and there's a series. It's important that the letters be read because between Einstein. On December 30th, 1940, Dr. Reich wrote to Professor Einstein, I would like to talk to you in a scientifically difficult and urgent matter. I am working in biophysics and psychosomatic research. From 1922 until 1930, I was Freud's assistant at the Vienna Polyclinic, and I am at present teaching experimental and clinical biopsychology at the New School for Social Research in New York. Dr. Reich at that time was in Norway, working, had a laboratory at the University in Norway, and he had the approval of the university, and he had a rather big laboratory doing electrical work on sexual functioning, and he was, at that time, he attached electrodes to the genitalia, and at that, people thought that was just really far out. Today, that's not far out. Ola Rockness was his closest ally there, and Nick Wall, who studied with him, was psychoanalyst, and she was very close to Dr. Reich, and she went to Meninger's clinic where she wanted to get further study in traditional classical psychoanalysis, and supported Dr. Reich the whole time she was there. And in fact, she used to demonstrate the armor to the other residents and doctors there, and she pointed out many things which was quite correct, and they were amazed, but the managers got after her and Dr. Silbert, and they just discredited it all anyhow. Dr. Reich continues in the letter, several years ago I discovered a specific biologically effective energy which behaves in many respects differently as all that is known about electromagnetic energy. The entire matter is much too complicated and sounds too incredible to be clarified and presented comprehensively in a letter. All I can say now in a few words is that this energy, which I call orgone, has definitely been proven as existent in the living organism as well as in the soil and the temperature, by making it visible, by concentrating it, and by temperature measurements. I am also operating with this energy with some success in research of cancer therapy. The matter has grown factually as well as economically far above my needs and needs cooperation on a large scale. There are a few points which make it seem possible that it would be used in the fight against the fascist pestilence. Now, Dr. Reich knew, of course, of Einstein when Einstein was in Vienna, and Einstein knew of Freud, and he had heard of Wilhelm Reich, and also sort of differences that was going on between Freud's other cohorts. But didn't pay much attention to it. The matter is much too important as to expose it to the danger of complete destruction through the irrational in the scientific world. And so often happens, it would be good and useful in every way if I could let you know more about the matter before I would ask you to come to my laboratory and to look at the phenomena. My caution not to use the usual way of sending a report to the Academy of Physics may seem strange. It is the result of extremely bad experiences, meaning with other traditional psychiatrists, psychoanalysts, and medicine in general, and physicists. On January 6, 1941, Einstein answered, "Dear Mr. Reich," he called him Mr. Reich at that time, even though Dr. Reich addressed himself as Dr. Reich. "I am very willing to talk over your scientific matters with you, and would have proposed that you come to see me some afternoon after having made an appointment in advance. With kind regards, yours, Albert Einstein." On January 8th, Dr. Reich sent a letter back to Professor Einstein. "I received your letter of January 6th and would propose an appointment on Monday, January 13th at about 4 p.m. Kindly let me know if this time is not convenient for you. I can get off at any time with the exception of Wednesdays when I hold my lectures at the new school." On January 9th, "Dear Professor Reich," and at that time he put Professor Reich because he said he was teaching at the new school. Professor Einstein would be glad to see you at the time proposed by you. Very truly, Helen Dukas, Einstein's secretary." And then on the 15th of January, after he had met with Einstein, and they had looked through the orgonoscope, which is a viewer which, when looked into concentrated field of orgone energy created by accumulating materials, you could see the orgone energy much better, which Einstein observed with Dr. Reich. "Dear Mr. Einstein, I have ordered today the apparatus for the observation of the temperature differences through the orgone radiation." Now, the temperature differences was a very simple thing where Dr. Reich would have a plate of orgone material about 1.5 inches high, and he had a centigrade thermometer hanging over that in a box, accumulated box, and over here he would have a box with another accumulated material with the same thickness, but not over a plate which contained orgone accumulating material. And Dr. Reich showed that the one over accumulating materials would always have a higher temperature. So after Einstein had observed the orgone accumulated through the orgonoscope, he was very excited about it. He said, "My God," he said, I see it. So Dr. Reich said, "Okay, the next thing I'll show you is the temperature differences. The apparatus will be smaller than those which I use here." That's in his laboratory. "About 2.3 cubic feet instead of 1 cubic foot. I will have a cellulose ester plate on the front side and will be fitted with an arrangement," and so forth. "I would like to take this occasion to thank you once again for your extraordinary kindness in being willing to go into this matter.